Hi, everybody. Uh, nice to be back again. So we're on to our first workshop, which is going to be done by Katie Crooks, the artist hypnotherapist. And it's going to be looking at how to mitigate stress and feel in control. So I'm hoping Katie will be let into the webinar. Yes. Hi, Katie.
Hello, good to see you.
Yeah, I will let you introduce yourself and
Amazing.
continue.
Amazing. Fabulous. Hello, everybody. It's so good to know that you're here. I can't see you, but I know you can see me. So, write in the chat, say hello. Let me know how you are, where you're from, and what you are looking forward to and not looking forward to about your next year as a supply teacher. Let me know because I'm going to talk to you about stress, how to mitigate stress, how to change your state, how to come back to a place of grounding and authority when the nervous system starts to kick you into those stressful moments. So write in the chat, say hello. Hi, Hilary. Thank you for commenting. Be the first to comment. Worried about management's perceptions of you. Oh, yes, this is such a good one. Okay, good. Thank you. Everything that you include here, I'm going to weave into the session as much as possible. I've got slides, I have a very clear plan of what we're going to do, but I love to make this as relevant as possible to you. So if that means there's something you ask me or something you tell me, then I'm going to see that in the chat box and I'm going to find a way to weave it in so that you get as much as you need from this session. So let's go to share. I'll be adding the slides, but I will probably jump in and out a little bit because I like to be able to check back in with the questions. So, how to mitigate stress and feel in control. This is such a juicy topic. So we're going to talk about what's actually happening physically when stress kicks in, how it actually influences your nervous system, your voice, your authority, the way you feel, your health, your wellness, your presence, and how you can actually gain control of it. Now, I'm a hypnotherapist. I used to be a voice coach. I used to teach speech and singing to all sorts of different groups, one to one. I used to do group teaching, singing, and speech. And I realized pretty early on in those 20 years of teaching voice that people's people's mental state was influencing their voice so much that I started to deal with the root cause of people's issues, and that's why I'm now a hypnotherapist. So I now help people address the problems that have been basically, I help people address the actual stress that's causing the problems rather than just addressing the problems. I'm addressing the root cause. So that's why I switched from teaching into becoming a hypnotherapist. So that's why I'm going to use some beautiful hypnotherapy techniques today to help you actually get your grounding and your presence back and help you bring yourself to a state where you fully trust yourself, no matter what people's assumptions are about you. Because we all have our own set of belief systems, and I'll refer to belief systems as BS because everybody's got them. They've all got their own BS. Nobody's is truth, it's just their perception of the world. So when you can stand in your power and not worry about what management are thinking of you, what the students are thinking of you, but stand in your authority and your power, then you'll notice an unconscious shift in yourself that's going to bring you into a lot more grounding, a lot more power, a lot more authority. So this is about self-leadership and self-trust. Because when you have the self-trust, the self-leadership, then you're teaching other people how to treat you no matter which environment you find yourself in, because you're likely to find yourself in a whole range of environments in the work that you're doing. All right. So I'm going to start with what's happening when stress appears. I'm just going to jump out of, I wonder if I can actually see the chat without dropping the slides. I think I need to be able to stop the share so that I can see the slides. See the chat box. Let's see. Oh, yes, here you are. Andrew, stress is another year towards my 5-year limit on supply. assuming that I can actually live off the less than 8K a year that you earn. Sorry about the pessimism, but that's the reality. Yeah, I think it's so important to recognize that there is reality, and the way that you approach the reality is so pivotal in how you actually feel. And in my experience, people create their own reality much more than they realize. And if you approach things from the place of, okay, right, I get to choose how I feel about this, that's a very, very different way of being. And that enables you to actually open up your mind to different ways that you can shift forwards in your life. I hope that makes sense. So please I'll keep dropping in and checking in the chat box. But for now, back to the slides. All right, so what's going on when stress appears? So in terms of your mind, when stress and unhelpful thoughts and behavioral patterns and emotions are creeping in, it influences your ability to think clearly about what to do in a situation, and it also influences your ability to learn and to think creatively. What's actually happening in terms of brain waves is that when stress kicks in, we drop out of the let me get this right. Blame the ADHD. You drop out of the parasympathetic nervous system state, which is rest and digest, and you slip into the sympathetic nervous system activation. Sympathetic nervous system is responsible for the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. When you go into that state, your brain is never going to let you learn anything new. It's never going to let you think at all. It's just going to do what it's always done to keep you safe. It's the reptilian part of the brain that switches on and says, I've got to run and hide from that saber-toothed tiger that's chasing me through the jungle and that's going to eat me for lunch, and I've got to find the nearest tree to climb so I stay alive. That's literally how the brain is responding. The amygdala in your brain only knows two settings. It knows that setting, the run through the jungle and climb a tree to get away from danger, or it knows I'm safe. I'm in my cave, I've got my fire, I've got my food, I'm safe. So what I'm going to teach you today is some really, really powerful techniques that you can actually use to get yourself out of that fight, flight, fear, stress response so that you can think clearly. Because when your brain goes into slower brain waves, more relaxed states, it drops out of beta brain waves and it goes into alpha brain waves, which is that daydreamy state. That's when you have more ability to think clearly about what to do about your situation. That's when you have more ability to learn more, to actually be in flow state. And I don't know about you, but I teach way, way, way better when I'm in flow. And certainly all of the speakers, the teachers, the actors, the singers that I've coached, as soon as they drop into that more relaxed brainwave state, they can flow easily, effortlessly, they can be more present, they can be more grounded. So that's what I'm going to teach you how to do. The way stress affects your physical health and your physical state can really, really influence the way people respond to you. So a simple example is if there's stress involved, of course, the shoulders go up, the abs contract, getting ready to run away, run up that tree. The larynx, the voice box, goes up higher because we're in that stress response. People can hear that in our voice and they're going to respond to that and they're going to feel stressed and they won't know why. And we end up breathing higher, high clavicular breaths, breathing up here. And everything starts to go into this panic state, and people unconsciously respond to that by feeling more panicked. So your ability to calm yourself down and come into a state of grounded, aligned presence, alert presence, is going to have a huge impact on the way people respond to you. You cannot control the way other people respond to you, but what you can do is you can control yourself. And I'm going to talk a lot about that over the next few minutes. So your voice, I've talked about that already. Just to clarify, MTD actually stands for muscle tension dysphonia. That's actually vocal issues as a result of stress. If that happens, go and see a speech language therapist. It's a really good signal for you that there's something going on. And actually people who had voice problems, is one of the major reasons I stopped teaching voice and I started doing hypnotherapy, because I realized that no matter how much vocal technique they had, if they were feeling that stress and anxiety, then they had to deal with that first. So, your overall well-being, you cannot pour from an empty cup. I mean, you can give it a go, but it's exhausting. You don't give of the same level, and it's not a way to live. It's certainly not a way to live sustainably. It really is more generous to look after yourself in the long run. Please, please, please take my advice on that, because I have learned the hard way. And having burnt out from giving too much of myself in my work as a teacher, I realized that the more I learn to be selfish about my energy, the more I've actually got available to give to those people. So I learned very, very quickly the difference between empathy and compassion. Empathy happens when we dive into someone's problem, we get in the sinking sand with them, and we commiserate with them, and we get pulled in. That's not going to serve anyone, because then you both sink. But when you have compassion, you can stay outside of that sinking sand. So think about that in terms of a student who's having an anxiety attack, or there's some drama going on, or management have made assumptions about you. That's their stuff, their beliefs, their sinking sand pit. The more you stay out of that and have compassion for those people around you, the more you get to feel stable and grounded and in your authority and in charge of yourself. The more presence you have, the more you're actually going to teach them how to treat you in those environments, particularly those where they don't know you, because you're coming into an environment that's unfamiliar. Good. So yes, the more you lead yourself, the more others will follow. Self-leadership is huge. I always say, never, never, never call it my stress. Call it the stress or that stress. So when someone says to me, oh gosh, I'm so influenced by my anxiety, the first thing I'll say to them is, okay, well, is it yours, or is it something that you happen to be experiencing? If you call it yours, what you're doing is dropping into a victim state that says, oh, I'm not in control of myself, and my anxiety is a badge I'm wearing. What I want you to start to do is to call yourself out on those moments, and rather than calling it mine, my stress, my anxiety, I want you to start calling it the stress or that stress, that anxiety. It's not your identity. I know that might sound like a very small thing, but actually, as far as your unconscious mind is concerned, it's huge, because the way you talk about it is directly influencing the neural pathways in your brain, and your neural pathways are your beliefs. All of those pathways and patterns in your brain, they are beliefs. A thought is an electrical impulse that runs along those neural pathways. So if you're consistently telling yourself things like, oh, it's my stress or my anxiety, then those stories you tell yourself are going to strengthen those neural pathways and make it worse. So you've got to start unpicking those stories you tell yourself. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the stories you tell yourself as we carry on. Your unconscious blueprint. Now, your mind has filters through which the information comes, because we can't take in every piece of information all the time. Our brains would explode. It's just too much. So your unconscious mind will only let in the information that aligns with what you believe about the world. So if you walk into a classroom and you have a belief that that group of students are a nightmare, your unconscious mind is only going to filter in the information into your mind that backs up your belief about that class. So what if you start to tell yourself a different story about that school, that class, that management, and say to yourself, okay, I decide to view this class as a group of individuals who have potential, rather than calling them a nightmare class. I decide that I get to choose how this day goes for me. This is about self-leadership. The more you tell yourself a story that is not helpful, the more it strengthens the neural pathways in your brain, the more it becomes a pattern. That neural pathway goes from a little dirt track to a 6-lane motorway. So what you need to start doing is telling yourself different stories that help you, and that's what we're going to do more of this morning. So you cannot control other people's beliefs, baggage, reactions, or worry, but you can control the way you respond. And then people do start to match the way you respond. So I want you to ask yourself, okay, how am I unconsciously responding in this moment? Is this member of staff in their state of whatever they're in? Is that mirroring back to me something within me that I need to deal with within me? How much of it is theirs and how much of it is mine? And then start to notice how you're unconsciously responding. Now, the reason I say unconscious rather than subconscious is because sub implies under. But actually, your unconscious mind is 95% of your habits, your behaviors, your actions. So when I lift up this glass of water, I'm unconsciously telling my muscles what to do. So it's not that I'm sub, because sub implies that it's some deep, dark thing down there. It's not. Everything we're doing, pretty much, apart from that 5%, everything we're doing is driven by our unconscious mind. So when you start to call yourself out on those things and say, hang on a minute, how am I unconsciously responding to that kid talking back at me? Did I just talk back at them with a knee-jerk reaction? That was unconscious. How can I start to change the stories I tell myself so that I unconsciously respond in a different way? Let me know if this is landing for you. I'm giving you a lot to think about. So I'm going to recommend a book in a moment. But before we do, I'm just going to check the chat and see what people are saying, because I want to know, is this landing for you, what I'm saying? And yes, oh gosh, Hilda, you're already feeling calmer already. Amazing. I think there's something really, really powerful about saying, you know what? I'm going to take charge of myself. This is self-leadership. Yes, good, good. Okay. Paula, this is brilliant. Oh, good. Okay, it's landing. I'm barking up the right tree. Excellent, excellent. I shall carry on. Feel free, use the chat to ask me your questions, because I think this is so important that you use the opportunity to make the most of how I can serve in this time. So, more about self-leadership. You really, really do have more power over your state than most people realize. Is the story you tell yourself about that class helping you, or is it sabotaging you? If I tell myself a story, I'll give you a different example. Every time I tell a story, it goes directly to your unconscious mind. Storytelling is very, very powerful to appealing to someone's ability to understand a concept. That's why we use storytelling so much. So let's say I'm telling myself a story that my husband doesn't do enough washing up, which is actually complete BS. It's a belief system I used to have. Actually, he does more than me. But I used to tell myself an old story about it because of what I witnessed in other relationships in the past that I don't need to go into. And so I then started to sabotage my feelings, because every time I told myself a story about it, it disempowered me. I found myself getting stressed and annoyed and worried and just a bit at him. And then I started to call myself out on that story I was telling myself and go, hang on a minute. Let's look at this logically. Is he? Is this true? Am I making it up? What if I'm seeing it through this set of filters that's going into my mind? So I want you to start calling yourself out on the stories that you're telling yourself about the people, the things you get to have, the kind of connections you get to have in the staff room, with management, with the classes that you inspire. And I want you to think about yourself as an inspirer, you know? So matching and guiding. The way you are, your presence, your body language, the way you breathe, the way you speak, and your self-belief, which influences those things, all of this can match and then guide the person you're speaking to. I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a particular student who's having a bad day. They've got all sorts of stuff going on in their life, and they're escalating into a panic. If you get pulled into that drama, then you're in the sinking sand with them. But when you stay grounded and compassionate, not empathic, but in compassionate, then you have the ability to guide them into a calm, relaxed state. But there's a trick that you can do. Let's say that their pitch has gone up. It's very, very powerful to match that and then bring them down. So you match and then you guide. So if someone has a, let's say, actually quite a closed body language. Now, normally you'd suggest, well, it's not great for me to have my arms folded because that suggests blocking myself from someone. But if that student is, then unconsciously, by doing this, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm matching you, just unconsciously. You can play with this and then you can guide them into a more open state. The way your body is tells your unconscious mind how to be. So every cell in your body is eavesdropping on your thoughts. But also, every thought is eavesdropping on your body. So if I frown, studies have actually shown this is true. If I frown, I send a message to my unconscious mind to feel more annoyed. Whereas if I smile, then that's sending a message to my brain to actually feel more relaxed and open. It's fascinating, the studies that have been done on this. So the more you stay present, the more you stay in your power, the more you have influence to create calm and focus around you. And if you want to go further into this book, Presence by Patsy Rodenberg, is brilliant. She talks about these 3 circles of energy, 3 circles of being. The inner circle is inwards, it's shrinking, it's I call them the mood hoover people, and I love them dearly, those of my friends who are these people. But if they are in that first circle place, it tends to suck the energy from me if I'm not mindful of this. Third circle, she talks about that being very, very outward, very over the top, quite aggressive, quite military, actually. You'll see a lot of this in the military, very, very outward. And actually that's too much as well. That's just as stressful a place to be. But in between those is the second circle, and that's the circle of presence. I want to just sow that seed for you here because I'd love for you to get hold of a book, copy of it. It's a really small book, very, very readable, very obtainable. She used to be the head of voice at Guildhall School of Music and Drama, but she also does a lot of work with corporate folk and speakers generally, speakers and inspirers, thought leaders. So she really gets how important it is to be grounded in this presence. And I think it's so powerful for teachers. Your imagination is much, much, much more powerful than you probably realize. Now, future pacing is a huge amount of what I do in hypnosis, and we're going to cover this in the sessions I'm going to run with you in the self-hypnosis and this group hypnosis. When you imagine something happening in the future, your unconscious mind believes it's happening now. It doesn't know the difference between imagined and reality. So if you imagine teaching a class and having a stressful situation, you'll probably feel your palms will get a bit sweaty, your heart will start to go. I don't know about you, but I'll get a dry mouth, I start to feel a bit queasy. All of those fight-flight responses start to happen if I imagine something going horribly wrong. Whereas if I make the decision to imagine in my mind the version of that experience that actually goes really well, let's say someone challenges me and I imagine myself staying grounded and focused and in my authority, then what happens is I'm teaching my body, I'm teaching my nervous system and my unconscious mind, which is the body, you can argue, I'm teaching it to stay present and grounded and focused and imagine the best results possible. Not in a way that's all unicorns, sunshine, rainbows and butterflies, but actually in a way that is training my body and my system to stay calm and grounded. So the language of your unconscious, which is 95% of your brain, the language of your unconscious is imagination. It's feelings, it's analogies, it's storytelling, it's metaphor, it's sensations, it's sounds, it's smells, it's color. It's the stuff that doesn't make sense logically. So when you imagine something like a shield of light protecting you, it might sound a bit, to the conscious mind, it sounds a bit waffly, but as far as your unconscious mind is concerned, it feels safe and protected and more able to stay grounded. So the more you use your imagination, however you do, some people are visual, some people are auditory, some people prefer to imagine it happening and unfolding, some people prefer to simply create a state of confidence within themselves. Everyone's different. However you imagine it, the more you imagine the future going the way you want, the more you're training your unconscious mind to expect that to happen and to be able to mitigate those stressful situations much, much more easily because you've trained your heart rate to calm, you've trained your system to relax. Good. Stress reduction techniques. So I'm going to show you some fun little and very powerful hacks. They're more than hacks. These are really, really powerful. The more you do these, the more you're training your brain to actually stay grounded, stay calm, and know how to deal with these moments. So it's not a one-time fix. This is something that every time stress kicks in, you get to say, oh, great, now's an opportunity to practice this technique. The more I do it, the more I become a master of the art of these things. Okay, so the first one, bilateral stimulation. So pick up an object. Pen will do. If you're a tree hugger like me, then a crystal. Whatever you've got to hand, phone will do. And think of actually, I'm going to come out of the chat because I want to, out of the share because I want to see the chat for this. Think of a situation that makes you feel mildly stressful, mildly stressed. And then write in the chat box how stressed you are between 1 and 10 when you imagine it. So you can close your eyes for a moment, imagine that situation, and then notice your current stress level between 1 and 10. So if I imagine okay, Heather, you're a 4, great. Keep filling those in. If I imagine a situation where I once taught a very challenging class, I could probably push my stress levels up to about a 9.5. I'm going to go for today around a 6. So imagine that scenario. Let me know what number you're at. Write it down either in the chat or just write it on a piece of paper. 8, Hilary, excellent. Paula, great. 7, good. Isn't it amazing that you can use your imagination to create that state, right? And if you can use your imagination to create this state, then you can use your imagination to create relaxed, calm, focused states. Okay, now pick up an object and watch me closely. What I want you to do is to pass this object left hand to right hand, left to right, left to right. And as you do that, the reason this works so well is because that stress primarily lives in one hemisphere of the brain. It's a kind of clump of neural activity in the brain. And when you pass an object left to right, it disperses the neural activity between the two hemispheres of your brain. And in doing so, that stress clump cannot keep its stuff together anymore. It can't keep itself together. It starts to disperse around your mind. And what you may notice after a while of doing this is that you start to feel calmer, more centered, more grounded. And the more you practice this technique, the more you're training your mind to stay focused and grounded and calm. So simply by imagining this happening in the future, by imagining a class happening and you doing this technique now while you imagine the future class, you can train your state so that when you go into that class, you've trained your body, your unconscious mind, to be able to feel calm and grounded. So notice how you now feel. Just try and resist feeling stressed. Try and resist feeling relaxed, and then notice how you feel. And then pop the object down, and then write in the chat what your new number is. So you went from some of you an 8, 7, 4. What number have you come down to? So you may want to write 8 to a 4 or 4 down to a 2. Yeah, Paula, you come down to a 3. Hilda's down to a 4, from 8 to a 4. Great. So every time you practice this technique, you're going to notice that it's a prescription. You're not a prescription, it's like taking vitamins. It goes from being a prescription to being a preventative measure. So every single time stress kicks in, say to yourself, brilliant, this is a great opportunity to practice bilateral stimulation. Good. So that's your first technique. Now, I am keeping an eye on the time. I want to run a very, very short group hypnosis. Here we are. I also want you to have access to self-hypnosis, but I want to give you these exercises as well. So what I'm going to do is I've created a landing page, a link for you, and on the link is the self-hypnosis lesson. So I'm going to give you that at the end of this call, and then we're going to skip to the group hypnosis instead, so that you have both. So for now, that means I've got more time to teach some of these other stress reduction techniques. The 90-second biochemical flush. I love this, sounds so scientific, and it is. So when something happens, let's say a person pushes your button and it brings up some anger, some stress, some annoyance, that cortisol that gets released into your body, the adrenaline that gets released. The fascinating thing is those chemicals that get released around your bloodstream only actually last for a minute and a half, 90 seconds. The only reason that stress or anger and stuff goes on any longer is because you're telling yourself a story about that situation. So let's say somebody says something that really pushes your button and you get this wave of adrenaline or anger or whatever it is. If you sit with that and just be with it for 90 seconds, then it's going to go. It's just going to disperse around your body. So that's why it's so powerful to count to 10. In fact, what I would do sometimes is actually look at, if you've got a clock with a second hand, is actually time 90 seconds and say, right, I'm not going to tell myself a story about this. I'm not going to feed the fire. I'm not going to feed this biochemical flush and make it even worse. I'm going to stay with it. I'm going to be in it for 90 seconds. I'm just going to be in the discomfort of it. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to be present with the feelings that are coming up. And I can honestly guarantee that give it 90 seconds, those chemicals will have dispersed around the body and left. The more you do this, the more you train yourself to be present with the feelings that come up instead of being reactive. Because students and adults as well, colleagues, management, they all have a way of pushing each other's buttons. And when you have a technique like this, just to stay calm and stay grounded, you're training yourself that you are in control of your feelings. The other way, I'm going to skip down to the fourth one, curiosity, which is very much on the same track as this. Your brain cannot be curious and stressed at the same time. So if you say to yourself in that 90-second biochemical flush moment, oh, I'm curious. What is that? That anger. What is that stuff coming up? Interesting. What you're doing is training yourself to be curious about it. And if you're curious, your brain cannot be stressed at the same time. It just doesn't work. It cannot be these two states. So curiosity is a really, really powerful state. Say, oh, I'm curious. I'm curious about why this is happening. I'm curious about this student or this colleague. I'm curious about this feeling that I'm feeling. It's training your brain to stay grounded. The pattern interrupt. The pattern interrupt is if anyone interrupts you, you know how when you're halfway through a sentence and someone says, oh, look at that thing over there, you cannot for the life of you remember what the heck you were saying. And the reason that happens is because that pathway in the brain, that electrical impulse is traveling along the pathway. If someone interrupts, it diverts you off the pathway. And usually you cannot find your way back on that pathway. So let's say you've got yourself into a bit of a pickle, you're telling yourself a story that's not helpful. One of the best things you can do is say something. So I, being a hypnotherapist, I spend a lot of time snapping my fingers, counting people down and snapping on one. So what I do is snap. I literally snap myself out of it and say, stop, okay, notice, what am I doing? What am I saying? And then I redivert myself. Another thing you can do, if you have long hair and you have a hairband, you can snap the hairband on your wrist and get into the habit of snapping it if you catch yourself in an unhelpful loop. And every single time you do it, it interrupts the pattern. So that's a really, really easy, clever thing to do. Jumping down to the adrenaline reframe. I'm so excited. Okay, so this, if you tell yourself, I'm so nervous that I'm teaching this class, you're just telling yourself a story that's not going to help you. What if you say in those moments, I'm so excited that I get to teach this class? What you do is you reframe the adrenaline rush that's going around your bloodstream into one of excitement, because adrenaline is excitement and fear are the same state. It's the same feeling of oh, you know, a lot of people feel the same adrenaline when they're about to go on a date with someone they really like as they'll feel when they're feeling fear, or that urge to run away and climb the tree, get away from the saber-toothed tiger that I was talking about earlier. So when you reframe it and actually take charge, self-leadership, and say, I am so excited that I get to experience this class. I'm so excited that I get to maybe sharpen my claws isn't the best term, but I get to sharpen my tools on teaching this class. I'm so excited that I get to get better and better and better at what I do. Do you see how you can talk yourself around from going down a downward spiral of fear and instead stay in the loop of excitement about actually enjoying it? That's a really, really powerful way to do it too. I've already talked about smile versus frown. Even if you're grimacing, great. Grimace, it's sending a message to your brain that you're okay, and then you can think clearly. Self-hypnosis is, as I said, like mindfulness with a purpose. I'm going to give you the link to that before the end of this call so that you can access that, because I want to actually spend some time now in a lovely, lovely short group hypnosis. First of all, I will share hypnosis is not mind control. It's none of that nonsense they do on stage hypnosis. It's just not what this is about. This is about you having control of your mind and about changing your patterns with some really, really useful techniques. So with that in mind, whether it's self-hypnosis or the group hypnosis, these are really useful questions to ask yourself. So take a moment. I'll just give you a couple of moments and write in the chat, how do I want to feel? Okay, I want to feel focused in this class I'm about to teach, or this school I'm about to go into. I want to feel present. I want to feel grounded. What is the feeling that you want to feel? I want to feel certain of myself. I want to feel like I have authority. I want to feel safe within myself, no matter what's going on around me. And then you can write what will be different about me when I decide to feel this. I'll be more curious, more playful, more myself. I'll be clear-headed, I'll be calmer, I'll feel strong, I'll trust myself. Can you see how I'm not using any negatives here? I'm only using positives. That's because as soon as you say an unhelpful word, it just strengthens it in your brain. You want to focus on the feelings that you do want. I feel calm. How do I decide to respond in tricky situations is the third question. I feel calm, focused. I feel strong self-respect. I feel the more I respect myself, the more others respect me. That in itself is a great statement. I'm just going to write that down because I'm going to weave it into the hypnosis. The more I respect myself, the more others respect me. That statement would be a great one to use in the self-hypnosis, which will be in the link, the video that you can follow along. The more I respect myself, the more others respect me. So I'll weave that into the session. So I want you to write in the chat how you want to feel, how you will feel, because everything you write, I'm going to weave into the hypnosis in a moment. Do you want to feel inner stillness, calm, authority, presence, grounded? Good. Excellent. So I'm going to stop the share for a moment. I'm going to peek at the chat. One of these days I'll work out how to have the share screen and the chat up at the same time. Oh, Tara, you've put the link in. Thank you so much. Oh, okay, good. Hilda, I want to feel focused. Focused. Excellent. So a question I'd ask is, what does focus feel like for you? Do you feel when you're focused, how do you feel? Do you feel more yourself? Do you feel like you're being more authentic, more truthful, more authoritative, more clear-headed? Heather, relaxed, focused, relaxed. Good. Keep going. Keep filling in the chat. And then in a moment, we'll do a short group hypnosis. Now, keep filling in the chat about how you want to feel while I talk for a moment before we dive in. So, hypnosis it's not mind control. You're actually getting your control back. It is a way of coming back to yourself, actually. It's not about pretending to be anything, although acting as if you are someone actually teaches your unconscious mind how it feels to be that thing. So that's a useful trick. But hypnosis is really about you coming back to yourself, the person you actually are when you don't have the beliefs, the blueprints, the baggage that was probably never yours when you were born. So it's actually more about coming back to your real self than anything else. And in my experience, when someone's really their real self, authentic, truthful, they have so much more presence and authority and groundedness when they inspire, when they teach. Whereas when they're trying to be something that they're not, it's different. It's different. Great. So you want to feel focused, relaxed, clear, in control, confident, have a calm authority. You want to feel more yourself, refreshed. Yes. Can you feel how juicy those words are when I repeat them back? You know, it's a good feeling, isn't it? Good. So if any of you happen to be listening to this while driving, please, please, please do not listen to this while driving. They're chuckling at me now. Yes, because it's, even though hypnosis is not sleep, there is a trancey, relaxed, daydreamy state that you are likely to go into, and I do not want you to be behind the wheel when that happens. So, good. Any questions? Write them in the chat. If not, then we'll dive in. I'll keep an eye on the clock. We've got just over 15 minutes. So I'll keep this relatively short. Now, everyone goes into this lovely daydreamy state in different ways. So it really doesn't matter whether you go into a light hypnosis where you can focus on every word I say, or if you go into a deep, deep relaxation where my words just wash through you. Either way, you're in control. You call the shots. You're the boss because you're the one who's deciding to change your state. So with that in mind, I want you to get lovely and comfortable. You can sit up like I am. If you want to have a blanket and lie down, then you're more likely to fall asleep, but that's great, that's fine. Even if you did fall asleep in hypnosis, your unconscious mind is still hearing everything that goes in. It picks up on so much more than we realize. A great thing to think about is, how do I want to feel for the rest of today's webinar? Do I want to feel alert, focused? Do you want me to weave that into the suggestions so that you actually emerge feeling refreshed and alert rather than wanting to go away and have an hour's nap? Because I want you to be on form for the rest of today's webinar. So have a think about that and then write in the chat, yeah, I want to feel alert, I want to feel present, I want to feel clear-headed and able to absorb everything that comes through. And then get lovely and comfortable. And then let's dive in. All right. So start with your eyes open. And as you settle in, get lovely and comfortable, I want you to look up and keep your chin down so that as you look up, your eyelids start to feel a little bit tired, a little bit sleepy. Because the more you try and keep your eyes open, the more you're sending a message to your unconscious mind that they want to close down, because the mind registers the word try as fail. So with your eyes up, you'll notice that actually you may want to close them down, but try and keep them open. Try as hard as you can. And notice a wave of relaxation starting to flow in simply because you're trying to keep your eyes open now. And then When it feels good, perhaps on the next in-breath, on the next out-breath even, close your eyes all the way down and settle in so you can wriggle around, you can move. And with your eyes closed, make the decision that all sounds take you deeper. So any sounds my end, any sounds your end, are simply signals that everything's continuing along in the outside world and you're safe to come home to yourself right now. You're safe to relax. And notice that the conscious mind can drift and float. You will probably have thoughts while in this state, and that's totally normal, while I'm speaking directly to your unconscious mind. Good. So take a nice, deep, easy breath. Already beginning to relax both mind and body. Relax the top of your head. Good. Relax your forehead, smoothing out any creases, as if you're already feeling calmer right now. Relax the tiny muscles next to your eyes. Relax your jaw so that your jaw can hang loose and slack. Relax your shoulders as if you could breathe easily. As if all the shoulds of the world are melting off your shoulders, down your arms, out through your fingertips. That's right, really good. Relax your torso, breathing easily. Good. Relax your hips. Relax your legs all the way through to the bottoms of your feet, to the point where every single cell in your body can easily relax right now, as if all problems are a million miles away right now. And even though hypnosis is not sleep, I wonder if you realize that it's a wonderfully dreamy, sleep-like state that you can easily and effortlessly drop in. And some people feel light and some people feel as if they're dropping in, giving into gravity. Either way, notice that you're doing it your way so that you can feel relaxed and focused, because I'm willing to bet that the more you choose to feel relaxed, the more you feel in control. The more you choose to feel relaxed, the more you feel in control. The more you choose to feel relaxed, the more you feel in control. So imagine a wonderful colour forming at the top of your head, a colour that you associate with feeling refreshed, calm, and confident. And your colour could be multicoloured, it could be one colour, it could be a texture, a substance. And imagine now that your refreshed, relaxed colour is pouring in through the top of your head, all the way down through your torso, through your legs, and out through the bottoms of your feet, as if it's washing you clean of any beliefs or baggage that's not yours. I wonder if you can imagine that your colour is flowing through you as if it's a waterfall, flowing through you and washing you clean of anything that's not yours, any BS, any stories, any beliefs. Imagine it flowing through you as if it's taking you deeper and deeper so that you can feel more clear, more refreshed right now. Good, really good. Now I'm going to count from 3 down to 1 and click my fingers, and when I do, I want you to find yourself, imagine yourself in a place where you feel so safe that it's as if you can have anything you want. And your safe place could be a garden or a beach or a tree house, a mountaintop, or something else entirely. Whatever it is, imagine it's your safe place. 3, going even deeper. 2, trusting what comes, feeling into the velvety darkness behind your eyelids. And 1. Be there now in your safe place, a place where you can trust yourself. And this is a place where you get to feel focused, a place where you choose to feel relaxed and in control. And you really don't need to think about how you're feeling relaxed now, because your unconscious mind knows that you get to feel relaxed here, not because of the words I use, but simply because you decide it for yourself. As if you realize that you have inner authority. And because you have inner authority, you're teaching yourself to feel your authority increase, because I'm willing to bet that the more you choose to feel authority increase within you, the more you have authority with all the people you inspire and collaborate with. So I'm going to count from 3 down to 1 and click my fingers, and when I do, I want you to imagine a powerful shield forming around you. And because your imagination is your unconscious mind's language, that means it's as if you can imagine your powerful shield getting stronger and stronger simply by imagining it, not because of the words I use, but because you decide it for yourself. 3, going even deeper. 2, trusting how your shield appears. And 1, see, feel, and sense your powerful shield appearing around you. It may be glass or perspex, it could be made of light or energy or something else entirely. However you imagine your shield is exactly right for you. And I want you to notice that your shield only lets in the helpful things. So imagine now that your shield has a color, a texture, it may even have a sound to it. And it repels anything from other people that is unhelpful. So see, feel, experience, or touch, or hear your shield. And imagine someone trying to say something unhelpful to you. I wonder if you can imagine it bouncing off the shield and right back at them like a wonderful gift, because it's their stuff. Because inside your powerful shield, you have trust and inner stillness, a calm authority filling your shield. So notice someone giving you a look, whatever that look is, an uncomfortable look. Notice it bouncing off the shield right back at them, so that you feel grounded and you feel your authority. Good. I wonder if you can imagine walking into a new staff room that you've never been in before, and realize that the more you respect yourself, the more others respect you. So imagine that your shield is protecting you from other people's assumptions about you, so that you feel your self-respect is increasing right now. Imagine walking into the staff room, making a cup of tea or pouring a glass of water, as if you're saying to yourself, the more I respect myself, the more others respect me. The more I respect myself, the more others respect me. The more I respect myself, the more others respect me. And imagine this statement becoming your reality to the point where others really do respect you more and more, because you have a calm authority, an air about you that says, I'm confident, I'm in control. I wonder if you can imagine interacting with new people in this school, thinking to yourself, I am calm, I am confident, I am in control. And if someone tries to pile on their drama, it just bounces off your shield and right back at them, as if you're saying to them, I am calm, I am confident, I am in control. Imagine walking into a new class, and no matter how they're behaving, I wonder if you can sense yourself saying, I am calm, I am confident, I am in control, to the point where you feel clear-headed and surprisingly refreshed because you trust yourself. Really, really good. Now imagine someone giving you a compliment and you notice that it comes in through the shield because you love to receive it. Notice how good it feels to receive good things through the shield. And then notice someone else saying something sarcastic or unkind and it bouncing off the shield right back to them for them to process and them to deal with, because you stand in your calm authority, more yourself than ever before. I'm willing to bet that the more you feel yourself, the more you feel focused right now. Really good. Now, in a moment, I'm going to count you back up from 1 up to 5. And when I reach 5, you'll emerge feeling refreshed, alert, awake, and full of clarity so that you can easily focus on all of the sessions today for the whole webinar, feeling refreshed and alert and highly focused. I'm willing to bet that over the next few days, you start to notice yourself feeling your calm authority flowing through you because you trust yourself and you are in control. Good. 1, starting to come back now, deepening your breath, moving your feet, your hands, your toes, your feet. Good. 2, coming all the way up now, feeling refreshed and alert. 3, deepening your breath, moving your body a little bit, feeling focused and alert and grounded with fresh new perspective. 4, coming all the way up, feeling more yourself than ever before, getting ready to open your eyes now. And 5, open your eyes, have a stretch, have a yawn. I love a yawn at the end. Arms by the top of your head, and the word is yes. So I wonder how you'll feel when you walk into every single classroom, every single staff room, with this shield around you that you can sense repelling anything that is not helpful to you, so that you feel really grounded, authoritative, and in charge every place you go. Because honestly, the more you actually use your imagination to create this state, the more you're teaching your unconscious mind to feel safe and protected from all the other BS that belongs to other people, so that you can stay in charge of yourself. Really good. Now write in the chat how you feel, what shifted for you, if you like, and let me know how that was. Good. And then we're going to finish up in a moment because it's nearly 1:15. So have a shakeout if you need. Do a few star jumps. Oh, good. I got hearts. I love those little likes. I haven't started using those yet still. Good. How are you feeling? And then we'll finish up in a moment. How are you feeling, Wayne? I can't hear what you're saying. I can just sense that.
Andrew says I'm good.
You're good. Good. Excellent. Excellent. Super positive. So do you see how you can use your imagination to change your state? And the more you do this, the more you're training your unconscious mind to feel the state that you want to feel. The more you do this, the easier it gets, the more it simply becomes your reality. So you're literally sticking more neurons to every neural pathway in your brain that you want to have running. Every neural pathway is a thought. And the more you say, I choose to feel positive, the more you're going to train yourself to feel it. It's not about, they call it spiritual bypassing these days. It's not about pretending everything's all unicorns and rainbows. It's about saying, I get to choose how I feel today. I get to choose how I get to be. And I choose to feel positive and calm. And everything I feel is relevant. And I choose to be in control of my emotions and feel refreshed. Good. Whew. Look at that, 12:15 exactly. Thank you for letting me teach that, Wayne, and everyone. That was fun.
Well, thanks. And any comments that you want to put in there, Katie will still be listening for a little bit. Thanks for that, Katie. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take 5 minutes off Paul. We'll come back on at 12:20 for Paul's session on keeping children safe in education. Right. So thank you for that, Katie.
Thank you.
We'll
Have a
see you
great
back in.
day, everyone. See you soon.